All right. I want to welcome the teachers from Montgomery County. My name's Scott Loomis. Many of you, Jeanette, you and I have bumped into each other in the past, but for most of you, just to give you an idea of my background, I worked with Baltimore County Public Schools for 14 years before joining Tech for Learning. I honestly never thought I'd leave the school system, but this stuff is pretty awesome. So I love what our products do and how kids can use it. And Wixie is definitely the awesomeness right now that we've been sharing a lot of, especially with remote learning. Couple things you need to know as you get started with Wixie. First, it is completely cloud-based, which means it can be accessed from any device with internet connectivity. So we're talking laptops, desktops, Chromebooks, Kindle Fires, iPads, you name it, even your cell phone. There is a specific Wixie view for your cell phones. You won't do a lot of drawing on that, but for instance, if I was a school counselor and I wanted to do a recording or a video of my child, or of a student, that just had an episode or there was an incident or whatever, I could easily open up my own account, press record, and let the kid tell me what happened, and then have that artifact or that record of the incident in their voice instead of me transcribing it or something like that. Wixie has no save button because it saves automatically every 15 or 20 seconds, which means your kindergartners, if the internet goes down, it's not like they're going to lose work. They'll only use just the last few moments of what they did. And best of all, although it automatically saves, is that everything they do will be made automatically available for the teacher to see without the students doing anything at all. It's just automatic. So what's wonderful is if you actually assign them a pre-made template, and we're going to get into it here, they'll see the template right here when they open up their own accounts, because their home view looks a lot like ours does. So kids open Wixie, they could see an assignment right here first thing and click on it. And when they're done, they would just exit. We got a little door exit icon up here on the right. And they're good. They're good to go. So in short, the efficiency is high because the kids get in, they get working, and they get out. There's no navigating, there's no saving, there's no drop boxing. It all happens automatically. So although I will come back to this, I just want to point out that this is where we can see all of our student work. And this is where we're going to be able to access templates that are in Wixie, or you can even create templates and share with each other. So if you guys figure out your theme coming up, for October or just the next unit when it comes up, and say, all right, I'll make this template, you make that one, you make that one. You guys can all put them in the school folder and then snag each other's, so you're good to go, for the next few weeks. But to make something in Wixie, we're going to click New, and I'm going to choose Landscape. That's my go-to layout because it gives us the most workspace, because that's the way your screen's designed. But as a point of reference, you can take a picture. So you can take a picture with it, and it'll be the background of your project. So if they wanted to hold up a pet or a thing, or take shapes, like pictures of shapes around their house, like circles and triangles or whatever, they can go straight from a picture. Better yet, you can upload PDF files. I've heard stories which just astound me that curriculum offices were asking teachers to distribute PDF files to students to work on. And if you're familiar with PDFs, you can't write on them. It's just a picture. So that they were actually, I'm not joking, expecting parents to print out the document, kids to write on it, and then parents to take a picture of it or scan it and then send it to the teacher. And parents or teachers will tell you that like 5% of the kids turned it in. The nice thing is you can import a PDF file, you just go find it, and it'll be a Wixie file the kids can then draw on. So it's a huge difference if you're working with PDFs from the existing curriculum. But I am just going to go grab a new landscape. We have our tools across the top, things like adding pages and images and text, which I'll show you. We do have a collaboration feature. Kids could work within the same section, so just their 25 or so kids in their class, not another class, not another grade, not another school or country, just their 25 kids. So if you are doing something like conflict resolution, for instance, and this is back to Ann, you could have kids work in partners on one Wixie page. I don't know if I would see this in music. And by the way, Ann, if Ann's still around, or maybe one of you could tell me, are we talking instrumental music or vocal music? Since we have you here, I'm definitely going to want to talk on that. So she was in a conversation with a child. So if she's back in, or one of you know, just type it in the chat section and we'll go from there. And then, of course, in the paint tools over here on the right-hand side, our paint tools are really, they're kind of standard. I mean, paint tools are paint tools. What you will see is, I'm going to go ahead and color a little bit, is that there are a limited number of options that you see straight away. And what I mean by that is when you select the paintbrush, for instance, and yes, there are a whole bunch of brush strokes things you may be familiar with when you worked with Pixie. Some people are a little upset there's only 10 colors. Well, every time you see this arrow, and work on this with even your youngest kids, arrows mean options in Wixie. So if I want more than 10 colors, I can go ahead and choose the arrow, and now I get the 1,000,000-point color wheel. And because I chose green, I actually have a green slider down here. So all of these arrows will give us options for lines of symmetry, for brush, for color, for patterns, just as a kind of FYI. Oh, I'm so sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to build a tree, and I'm going to use smudge. By the way, art teachers are digging Wixie because they can do things like watercolors really easy here. So I'm going to smudge some roots in, and I'm going to use our spray can tool. And I could spray things like balloons, but undo is down here, by the way. I don't want balloons, so let me see my other choices with options. Let's see, nature, numbers and letters, actually. Animals, anything associated with wildlife, and then kind of like an everyday object. So I'm going to go back to nature, and sure enough, there's some nice fall leaves. Now, I got the slide. Do I want itty-bitty leaves? No. Well, I can leave those there. I'm going to paint over. I want bigger leaves. And I'm set to go. And with that, I might want to add an image. Now, our image library is up here in the center, and it includes clip art, which we call stickers, a photo library. This is Pix for Learning. It's copyright-free images. There's over 30,000 images here. You can also get it from camera. So if you want to take a picture like I did before of yourself, or from file, maybe it's a field trip or something like that, or location, you can go get that too. However, I am going to stick with the stickers. And you can do searches. So if I want a deer, I can search a deer, and it'll always show the stickers first and then photos afterward. So I can bring in a deer. Now, I understand that most kindergartners might not be able to spell what they want to find. So know that most stickers appear in at least 2 or 3 folders. So like if I go into books, this might be something you use a lot with kindergarten. We have all these subfolders for retelling stories. So if you want the kids to do a retelling with the Hungry Caterpillar, there's the Hungry Caterpillar folder. And we pulled in images from the other folders to match it. Obviously, there's food and insects and things like that. Little Red Hen, Room with a Broom, these are here as well. Some of the other folders that may be applicable, the alphabet folder is nice because you do have these letters that you're going to be, and it's not text objects, you're going to be able to click and drag these really easy. But also the blends, I appreciate the nods, by the way, that means you're digging it. I also have blends and word families, and these are nice too because again, these are things you can move around really easy. There's no restraining. So, and we use a lot of these in pre-made templates as well. But these are here for you to grab when you need them. The cartoon folder is not bad. It has numbers with like faces on them, so that's kind of cutesy. But I like, for instance, and this is definitely going to be more like music. Don't tell me about a French horn or about a cymbal. You could always put eyes on it and mouths and interview it or pretend to be it and tell me what's special about the instrument, what category or group is it in as far as a brass or woodwind or something like that. And that's true for planets or volcanoes or anyone. Bring it to life and interview it because that's when you're going to get more meaningful information from it. So that was cartoons. The others, you got community images, emojis, which are there. You got food groups. The holidays, you got all your different groups. And this might be even something as simple as repetitive patterns with just symbols from the holidays. And we see pre-made templates like that as well. The math folder is stacked. It's got every manipulative you need, as many as you want, no cleanup. So whether it's base 10, which is up top, or 10 frames and 5 frames, they're all here. And again, when it comes to images, as I did before, you open them up, you find the one you want, and you can add it or double click on it, and this shows up here. Now, you should know, for instance, this is a really rough icon to move around for the kids because they invariably go this instead of moving it because they can't get it small enough. So, and this isn't something I would typically show, but when you're making centers for kindergartens, I think you're going to want to be able to manipulate your stickers. And as long as you have it selected and you see these handles around it, you can go up to edit and do something to them as far as modify them. And by that, I mean you can change the properties. So if you want, for instance, to have it so that it doesn't resize, almost like money, but based on blocks, you don't want to resize, you can uncheck the scale. And now they can move it around without resizing it. Right? You can also, and unfortunately, if they click the red X, it'll disappear. So you can also say, listen, I don't want it to be able to be deleted. I want to protect it. And there you go. Now you can't delete it either. So no matter what the child does, it won't go away. This might be really nice if you're sorting something, like living or non-living or whatnot. because we all know that if there's a way to mess up a template, there's a kid that'll mess it up. So when you protect the stickers, yep, it's so true. When you protect your stickers, it's like, okay, there's only 10 things you need to move around, and they're not going to go away. You can't move them off the page. You can't delete them with your keyboard. They can't go from there. And the other one is actually cloning. So if you wanted to do quantity, I could put this like along the bottom, like a base 1 and a base 10, and the kid can just represent 13 by grabbing 3 of these ones and one rod as well. Same would be true for money. Right? So again,
we would do that, Scott. We would do that if we were creating like a template or a project. We would lock the picture. Is that right?
Yes, you would want to lock it, and the kid would be unable to lock it. The nice thing is,
so can you go back up to the edit menu again and show it's under properties? You said.
Yeah, you got it. Let me grab the deer. It's a little bigger too. And again, if you don't select anything and you go to look for properties, it won't even be there because the menus are intuitive based on what you select. So you select your sticker that you want to modify, and you come to edit, and it is properties. And I'm showing you guys the basics here. Like I said, there is a lot of this all set up for you. Even the diagrams that you can just delete what's there and put new images in if you want to. But there's extensive ones for vowel sounds, for starting sounds, for like hard G and soft G for alphabet ordering. So you're going to be surprised. There's going to be a lot of it ready to go because, most of us with the company are former educators, and educators kind of do the same thing in kindergarten, whether it's in Maryland or Virginia or California. So we have a lot of resources ready to go. So lock.
What's the difference between lock and protect?
No worries. Locked is like a glue feature. You can't move it. So like I locked the deer, I can't move it. Protect allows you to move but not delete.
What about the resizing one? Is that also the resizing one?
No, uncheck scale. So where it says scale is automatically there. You'll uncheck it.
Thank you.
And this is a good, you're welcome, Cindy. This is a good opportunity too. I have a smiley face icon. You will have like a shadow figure of a head or a headshot. Every help resource for Wixie is in Wixie. So if you click on your profile icon, come down to help and look at skills, we could look at probably image. So let's see where it says images or library, add a photo, add a sticker, search for images. Let's see if it will do properties or maybe property. Lock an object, clone an object, protect an object, turn off object scaling. So that was all under the object section. So definitely hit the help menu, do a quick search. And you'll be surprised. And what's nice about these is it's always directions, but there's always images. So there's nice screenshots and stuff. It really is a great resource. And your kids have help menu too. Again, I don't know if your kindergartens will use it, but definitely the older kids and sometimes parents. I got to go back to home, and you'll notice my projects automatically saved in my projects. So I'm going to open it back up. The nice thing about the clip art too is that I'm going to unlock. Is that in addition to being able to resize it and rotate it, can you guys see this little yellow icon here? Again, I appreciate the head nods. That's a megaphone, and what's wonderful is it'll read it. So I don't know if you heard it, but it did say deer, and that's not Wixie's voice. That's whatever your computer has it as default voice. So the stickers will be read, and this might be good. Like I think of like a long A and a long I vowel sound sort, and a kid sees a picture of a meat. And they're like, meat? I don't get it. Meat doesn't go in either one. And we used to say throw in ones that don't belong. Well, kids get too frustrated. They want it in one of the two categories. And they click on it and it says steak. Oh, steak. That is a steak. So this is nice. You can't change the caption right now, but it will read it. And what's wonderful is if we go ahead and add a text object. Hello, I am a deer. And that was a capital T. I did that kind of quick. It'll also read text objects.
Hello. I am a deer.
And since I know, like Jeanette, you're going to work with older, the students in upper grades as well, this can easily be turned to a call-out bubble. Slide it over, and you get different options. You can do thinking bubbles or whatnot. But if you want to do graphic novels or even, step-by-step for math, how to convert an improper fraction to a mixed number, you get all sorts of editing options here. I don't know if I would have the kids read directions, and I'll show you a better way to do that. But I think this is a great self-editing tool for like intermediate students. I don't know about you guys, but when I type an email, if I'm in a rush, I'll proofread it, and I'll invariably miss what I mistyped because I read it the way I thought I typed it. So what's wonderful is I click on if I type like 3 sentences, I click on the read and tell the kids to close their eyes and just listen to it. And if something doesn't make sense, you got to stop and find out where that mistake was and make the fixes. So we'll read. Right? So that was the kind of quick version, adding multi-pages as far as basic painting and drawing. And like I said, there's nothing too spectacular in that section as far as what separates Wixie from everybody else. The most powerful tool in the program, however, is this old-timey microphone icon here. Users can add 1 audio recording per page, and the recording can last up to 5 minutes in length. That's 5 minutes for page 1, that's 5 minutes for page 2, that's 5 minutes for page 3. So I talked even earlier about the like retelling The Hungry Caterpillar. I mean, that's an easy thing to do. Have the kids draw an illustration and retell a story. In fact, I would see kindergartners typing very little. Maybe their name, I don't know. Maybe changing the title. If they start from blank, you can rechange it. So like fall seed. But that's still something I would do as a teacher when I'd give the project or template a name. So they're going to type, I think, very little, but they're going to add a lot of audio recordings. I think of the anecdotal observations you guys are required to do as far as fluency, counting to 20, stuff like that. And I'm not sure if you've ever sat down at a parent conference, but I'm sure there's been one parent out there that doesn't quite believe what you're telling them their child can and can't do. So here, and I know this may be a little more pre-K, but like counting to 20. I mean, the teacher says, nope, your child needs improvement. And the parents are like, what are you talking about? My kid can count to 100 at home. And as much as you want to say that he must be drinking magical water at home, every time he tries here in school, he gets stuck in the teens. And what's wonderful is if you have that artifact, you can just say, well, I was able to record Timmy a couple of times. Let me play them for you. And you can see how he struggles in the teens. Think about, and I'm just going to add another page, doing a couple sentences. And this may be a little more first grade fluency, but if you type in a few paragraphs, you can assign it to the child. And whether they're doing it now at home or whether you have a parent helper in the classroom, you give it to them now in October and they record it. You give them the exact same sentences in November and they try reading it again, and then the exact same in December or whenever your 3 months are. And you can walk into a parent conference with 3 artifacts of the child's fluency, pace, reading. Maybe there's a speech concern and you want to capture it. So look at the recordings for artifacts. I also think, here I'm going to move back to page 2, back to page 1. Think about, even right now, you could read a book to the kids and you got your picture book going, the kids see you reading it, and you get to a spot in the book where the character is about to make a decision. They're going to do something. So you close the book and you look at the kids quizzically and you say, what do you think she's going to do? I want you to record your prediction in Wixie, and using evidence, you got to say why you think what you think, and then draw a picture of that event or that scene. And that's 15 minutes tops, maybe 10, because they do the recording, they say what's going to happen and why, and then they draw their picture. And that's the wonderful thing right now. And especially, I've been saying this a lot, one of their teachers' superpower, I think, is our ability to process and to deliver social cues at a staggering rate. Most people who work a non-teaching job, they deliver half a dozen social cues an hour. Well, as a teacher, and you're standing in front of class, you deliver half a dozen a minute based on your body language, individual students, based on your reading of the students and their behavior, their expression, or whatnot. And that's the great thing. I mean, you walk in a class, you're delivering a lesson, and you are asked, to your kids, are they getting the concept? And just by looking around, you got an answer for that. But now, even if they even have their microphones on, it seems like a lot of times I see a lot of dazed looks, like the kids are lost at the screen, like a couple of you guys right now. I know the gears are going, but it's just a look. So I love the ability to record their thinking, because that's our only way to capture it right now without not being there with them, without not seeing if they need any help or not. So even math answers, just because they got the right answer, they know, how did they get that answer? Is it accurate or not? And I kind of joke, is it mom and dad guiding them? Did they phone a friend, or did they actually come up with it on their own? So anytime you can record for information, you're going to want them to do that because of the knowledge it can provide you, even if it's just a straightforward answer. So how does the record tool work? I'm going to click on the microphone again, and I'm going to press record. Now, if I've never used Wixie before on this computer, I'm probably going to get a message that pops up over here. This box will pop up and say, is it okay to allow the microphone to talk to this web page? Because essentially that's what it is. It's a web page. I should close my email and stuff. So the answer, of course, is allow. Allow the microphone to talk to this web page. And once you do it once, you don't have to do it again. So after you've done it, the nice thing is you click record and you get 3 seconds to get yourself ready. So let's say I'm just doing seasons. We're just talking about fall. And, you've talked about clothing, temperature, about the plant life, everything else, and we've compared it to other seasons such as summer and winter. So, again, forget the typing. Just let them ramble on. No script. So here's my 3-second warm-up. Hey, this is a picture of the fall. In the fall, the leaves turn colors, and they fall off the trees because it's colder, and there's just not as much warm sun as there was in the summertime. And in the fall, too, you can wear more clothes. Like instead of just T-shirts and shorts, you might want to wear like long pants and sweatshirts and whatever you want, basically. Now, what's wonderful, as you can see, I actually just paused the recording. We found that ESOL kids in particular, if they were doing something more official, like a public service announcement, they would do like a minute-long recording and then they'd get stuck trying to say a word. And then they'd have to do the whole recording all over again. So I don't know if you would train your kindergartners to do it, but older kids, I would tell them to pause if they need to collect their thoughts before they move on. So you can pause and continue over and over again, but eventually you're going to stop it. And you can listen to it and keep it, or listen to it and try it again. But if you press keep, it's now a component of this page. I can play it still. I can still trash it because, again, you only get one recording per page. Okay? Now, in addition to, and only because we're doing a recording, those simple things like I talked about with literature or mathematical thinking or whatnot, I think it's important to look for something more meaningful. To me, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who dislikes PowerPoint more than I do. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. And that's only because most PowerPoint projects, the kids do not actually present the project to a group. And that's what PowerPoint's intended to do. I mean, if a child can take 5 words and talk about it for 50 seconds, that's brilliant. Instead, they just stop. And bulleted list is a pre-writing. That's what I did before in high school. We'd convert it to an outline and then write paragraphs just, over and over again. So bulleted list being a pre-writing, it's great to go ahead and say, instead of telling me about a planet, go ahead and bring in, back to stickers, cartoon and body face like I did before. I know I'm going quickly. Double click. And I'm a little type A, so I want the eyes to be the same, so I can actually use this adapt, which is just a duplicate feature here. And back to image and bring in a mouth. So now my recording is, hey, Mr. Mars, my name's Scott. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? No, I don't mind. What do you want to know? And I can actually, if I do like a background of black or something, space, it looks like space, I can actually go to edit and duplicate this page. And I'm going to come over to the story view so that you can see I can basically make multiple copies of the same page and just do a different recording on each one. So there's at least one recording I want to share, a student project. I'm going to go back to home and open it up, and that's with interviews. And by far the best interview I've ever seen, and what makes this one special, it was also done by a second grader, is this interview with a dinosaur. And I'm going to crank up my volume. I do want to watch just a couple pages of this to give you an idea of that more meaningful assessment. I mean, if like a younger grade was to research animals, don't tell me about the animal, they can pretend to be it. So I'm going to go ahead and press show. Instead of doing one page at a time, I can just run it all together.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline, and I am interviewing a dinosaur.
So again, she duplicates, and customizes each page.
So, dinosaur, what is your name and what does it mean? My name is Columbus, and it means Colorthorn. So, Colossus, how big are you?
Exactly 50 pounds, 8 feet tall, and 10 feet long.
We'll watch just one more page here.
Wow, that's small, but wait, Colossus, if you're that small, how do you defend yourself? One bear fence, but I could run away and I have very
feet and claws. Oh, well, that makes sense.
So she starts to banter with the dinosaur. And anytime, again, you get kids reflecting on knowledge, you're definitely getting a very meaningful and very accurate assessment of their understanding. And I also love the fact that she did not do a lot of typing. I don't get when kids type out a ton and then record it. Now, I could see it in like poetry, like children type a poem and then record themselves reading it for like emotion or whatnot. But here, just a couple of keywords and a lengthier recording. And that's what I would encourage with the younger kids, if that was more plausible. So let me go back. I don't want to mess this one up. I want to open up the project I was on before. Do you have any questions about the painting or the record tool? Nope. Let me talk about assigning blank pages then. You may actually assign, like let's say, and again, this is a little more first grade, so it might apply, but let's say you're doing like a beginning, middle, and end project. And in your head, you're assigning 3 pages to the project. So you'll have 3 pages, 1 page for beginning, 1 for middle, 1 for end. So you decide you're going to type directions at the top. Draw an illustration of something that happened in the beginning of the book and add an audio recording explaining what happened or explaining that event or however you want to word it. And again, I can resize the text object. What's nice, if you make it big, it'll resize the font, so it's really easy for like columns or brochures. However, in my mind, you're taking up their workspace. You want to give them as much space as possible to create their project. And to that end, you can actually put directions over here. You see this little clipboard icon? There we go, still nods, I appreciate it. Click on the clipboard, and this is instructions. And you can type out a lengthy instruction and check this out. This is huge for you guys. There's your own teacher recording for 5 minutes. So you may type just a few directions, but you can record much, much more on how to do this project. And nowadays, I got to be honest, you can also add stuff into the parent if necessary. Okay, mom, dad, parent, guardian, however phrase you use, while your children work on this, don't forget to do this. Or if you need help, look at the help menu or whatever you want to do, you can throw a whole lot in. And this is 5 minutes, again, of recording per each page. If you do not add a recording, there is a text-to-speech option. So there'll be a talk, I think it says talk, or speak, maybe talk. So the kid can have at least the instructions read to them. So again, I would delete it, and I would add instructions instead. The most important part of this process is this little slider right here. I know, Cindy, you're taking notes. If you do not, like if I type in directions, if you do not slide it to say open to instructions, the kids will open up and this is what they'll see. They'll have no clue what to do, just a blank page. But you want that clipboard information to pop up first thing, so you be sure to open to instructions. And the record works exactly like the student one does. Right? This also means if you want to do a little bit of a listening center, I mean, if you want, you could actually read a passage, have the kids listen, and then again, do the prediction, do the retelling, do something like that. I mean, you can get really creative with how you do this as almost making independent centers for the kids to do, basically, especially now at home. So you can get creative with that. And again, that can be multiple pages. It can be just 1 page, but completely up to you. Okay. The only other thing I think I want to share is how to, and we're going to talk about assigning too, but from here, you do have the options to share it and assign it. Let's talk with assigning first. Right? So I assume, do you guys like to place templates in Clever? Is that how it works? You put assignments in Clever and the kids can open them? No? What do you use? Nothing?
You're assuming that we know how to use Clever. Is that the 1 o'clock or the 2 o'clock
session? Basically, some people have a management system where they put templates for students to open. Do you guys have that?
We're using Canvas.
Okay, yes, Canvas. Okay. Excellent. So, Ann, I'm glad you joined us, by the way. And by the way, Ann, I didn't get into it, but there's music notes. Now that I know you're watching, there's a huge music folder with also the notation folder, and there are scale templates. Your kids could write songs and then record themselves playing it. So that would be an option. They could also sing if you want them to, or you can even make your own templates, and they have to clap like the pattern based on the notes that you provided. So they'd record themselves doing that.
Fancy.
And also, I skipped way over it, but there's also a added video component too. This is a 5-minute video, same deal as the recording. So for music, if you want the kids to hold the instruments, like if for any reason they rented their instruments like 5th graders, they can show how they're holding instruments as far as finger position. For everyone else, I mean, kindergarten, have them stand up and be letters, T and L and whatever. I mean, you can definitely do all that kinesthetic or whatever you want to with recordings instead of just the audio. If kids are working on their own computers or the computers they have from the district are a little older, know the video, if it lasts 3 minutes long, could slow down the machine a little bit. So if kids complain about Wixie working really slow when they do videos, tell them maybe no video, just audio instead. Because the video is an audio file with hundreds, if not thousands of pictures on top of it. So know that that was there in the video. So glad that came up. And then Ann talked about it. Now, when it comes to assigning templates, let me show you how it's done, and then I'll go ahead and I'll show you some tidbits on top of it. So I am looking at the template I want to use. I modified it maybe a little bit or whatever. I go to File, and you're going to assign it from 3 different spots in Wixie, and this is just one of them. So I click Assign, and as a teacher that works with multiple classes, I have access to the classes that I work with. If you only have one class, it's just your class. So you need to decide, when do the kids need to see the template, which means you could say, well, I'm planning for next week. Right? The moment they open the template, they get their own copy. So you really, if you're a classroom teacher, you don't need to do it for a month. Do it for like 3 days or 4 days. And you can assign to all students or to a couple students. The moment you press save, if today is the first date, is the moment it goes into the kid's Wixie project or Wixie account. So if I log out and log in as a student, the first thing I see will be my assignment up top. So I open it. And again, it says new assignment. And you can see I do this a lot. Open it. And from here, if I make changes, I do the task, whatever I want. Let me just show you, it's a little different then. When I go back to the home icon as a student, it won't show up at the top anymore because now it's part of my project. So I got a copy of the assignment, and now I'm working on a copy of it. Now this assignment has just been made available for me as the student's teacher to see as well. Right? But that's basically all there is to it. And I think, Jeanette, when you're working with the different kids too, the kids can actually mark their assignment as complete to say that they're done with it. And that's under the File menu. So if it's due on Friday, if a kid wants to turn in early, they can. And they'll tell them, if you turn it in, you can't make any more changes. Are you sure you want to do it? So just know that that's a nice way as well, because it's a management option within the teacher account, which I'll get back to. Now, unfortunately, every child's project has its own URL. Mine's up here. You can see it, but the recording's not showing it. It gets its own numbered URL. So you cannot link a Wixie template in Canvas that the kids can just click on and it'll automatically open. So what you're going to need to do is tell the kids to open Wixie and to open a specific project. So I could choose to open like a snippet tool, and I could take a picture if I wanted to, just of the first page of my ditto or my template. And I could put the picture in Canvas and say, open up Wixie and open up this template. But because you get 20 different, like I said, URLs, when they each open it up, it's not going to be straight as easy as it might be with other programs. That's just the way Wixie works. So let me return to the home section, and we look at just a handful of management stuff. Oh, yeah, Holly.
Can I ask a quick question? I just want to make sure I understand. So your point on that is that they have to open a new tab of Wixie, or else we can't link it in Canvas, but we can show it in Canvas.
Yes. And they won't really have to make open a new tab as much as they'll just need to open Wixie. Now, if they just want to, because when they click on Wixie in Canvas, I think it stays in the same window. It doesn't open up a new web page for it. It may, I don't know. But if you reference the ditto and say, I need you to open up this worksheet, this template, they open up Wixie, and it should be the first thing they see on top of their page. It should be enough of a visual cue to get them to then just open it straight away. Yep, so that's my point, is you can't hyperlink it just because the way the Wixie files are saved and the way Wixie functions. Good. So now that I'm back at the teacher page, just know that as you look at stuff under your projects, and I'm going to show the other folders too, you see these little 3 dots? And I chose the grid view. You can also do a list or a box view based on your preference. But these 3 dots are ellipsis. If I like this sorting alphabet one, the kids have to sort apples based on their colors, I can actually click on the 3 dots and assign it right here. And there's the same menu that pops up. So just know you can assign it from a lot of spots. But let's look at kids' work, and then let's look at templates. So I clicked on students. Here's Nina's work, there's Elsa's work, so on and so forth. If I click on Danielle and I get a little thumbnail of her project, I can click on it. And here's her project. This is Like if you guys want to do literature connections, that's pretty cool too. Like they can make their own Spill Milk page, looks like Spill Milk, or their own Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball page. So like they're extending the book by adding another page to it. So this was things that are most in the world. It's a superlative book with the ists. So the child made their own page and they did record it. I kind of like the narration here. I don't see it as a double dip. So I can actually press it. Let's see if it'll play it. There it is.
The prettiest thing in the world is a marshmallow dressed in a pink fur coat with hot pink pumps and pearl earrings.
Okay, I don't get the marshmallow thing, but it's a cute picture. So check it out. I can leave a comment over here. It's called feedback. All you got to do is press the plus sign. It'll give you a new box to type in. The one thing you want to be sure you do when it comes to grading kids' work, however, is to mark it as complete. And because your kids can use Wixie for fun at home, let them draw, let them do whatever they want. They're not going to take up space. It's all good. But what you don't want is you don't want to have a perfect artifact to share with mom and dad that you say, okay, I'm going to show this to them in 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks' time, you tell them about this great project you want to show them, this great example of their child's work, and you open it up and the kid just destroyed it at home, during their free time. So if you mark it as complete, it goes static and no one can change it. So for me, I look at it, I mark it as complete, and then I leave a comment. And when the child or mom and dad opens up Wixie, the comment will show up like over on the right-hand side where the paint tools are. Like it takes the place. And you can even get into rubrics, by the way, and do pass-fail assessments and stuff like that, which I won't get into, but the assessment section can be pretty cool. You can find it under the help menu here. Okay? And then I move. Oh, and
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry for cutting everything in the background.
That's okay.
So I don't have my own class. Like I go to all the teachers' classes. Do I have to set up a class for each?
No, actually, Ann, what you can do is you can send me an email. I'd prefer the email reminder if you don't mind.
Yep.
But I'll configure your account manually so that you have access to all the homeroom classes. And that's because the data we're getting from Clever doesn't list you as a teacher record since you don't match up with the report card. So we can make changes in addition to what the district's doing with Clever. No problem at all. So then I'll move on to the next one. Now, one thing you want to know, and Jeanette, this is going to be a big one for you too. You can actually see your student usage nowadays. This is a new feature, just a few weeks old, and it'll give you an idea. Like this isn't the class I practiced with. I practiced with this one. So when I look at this data, the only person using it is Jamie. Well, that's because, like I said, student 2 got used once. So if I have, and my wife teaches 5th grade, as I mentioned, she had a couple kids at zeros, and here to find out they didn't know how to open Wixie right. So they kept saying, I can't do it, but they never made it clear. They never raised their hand and said, I'm having problems. They just sat there quietly, being passive, which the kids can easily do now too. So this will give me an idea who's using it, who's not. This is how many times they logged in. This is how many different projects they made. And this is the number of minutes and hours, which isn't a big deal because they could walk away and it would say 3 hours type deal. Okay. So I'm going to return back to the home section.
You found that where? How did you find that report?
Oh yeah, no worries. Under students, down here, student usage. Down here on the left-hand side. Yep. Now, if you do dig into the assignments with the kids and you like that mark as complete for the intermediate kids, as you open the assignments, you'll actually get a list of kids' names. Let me choose a different classroom. And these are the kids that are assigned it, and this one is marked it as complete. So that's where the assignment tab comes in. Again, older kids, I just want to throw that in because we're recording. But here I think is what you guys, kindergarten teachers, have been holding out for is the template section. There are almost 2,000 templates under the templates folder. And these are ones that we've generated, again, not specific to Maryland, but the math and language arts are Common Core aligned. So just know that they are there. When I look at things like, we're going to go into language arts. And from here, we have parts of speech, reading, adaptation, vocabulary, wordplay, writing. Let's go into reading, alphabetic principle, comprehension, fluency, and literature. Let's go to principle. And we start to see these pre-made templates already ready to go. Ends with, finish the alphabet, deletions, syllables. There's vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant. Here's more alphabet sort. And I didn't even look at like the ABC book or initial sounds, which are subfolders here too. Pretty cool. So if you open up one of these, right now, again, you're looking at our template. You can't mess up our master. So notice there's no paint tools. This is the current direction that's been added to it. That's what the kids see at play. In fact, since you can't modify it, you only have 2 choices. Assign it as is or customize it. That means give it to the kids. This looks perfect. This means I want to make changes to it. Give me a copy of it. All right. So if I click assign, I get the exact same window I did before. Choose your students, choose your dates, sure you got the class right if you have multiple classes, and save it. Right? However, if I press customize, it's going to make a copy of it. And now I have a copy and I'm going to open it up and I can start working on it. So maybe I delete a couple that I don't want to use. So I come here and I again, now we got to unprotect it. So I can delete that one. I can delete all of these. And then I can assign it from here. Or if I go back to my home section, again, you'll see now this one's in my projects. There it is right now. So that's my work because that's my copy of it. So when I look at templates, you got all those language arts ones. The math are by categories as well. So you're going to be able to do some very simple base 10 stuff. When I dig in, I'm going to click back on templates to go into, for instance, general. There's some great stuff under general, things like bookmarks or book shields. There's your compose a melody, and there's scales down farther too. There's a couple different scales here as well, and that was under general. Also, there's nice month by month things. In fact, my all-time favorite, you're going to have to do this next month, under November is this cornucopia template. And the kids put in what they're thankful for and then do a recording of all the things they're thankful for. Right? But you'll always find some type of pattern extension like I talked about with the different images from the holiday, as well as other things. Even some simple coloring would work just to get them going as well. October, and again, I know Halloween can be a tricky holiday, depending on what your school wants to do. But this scary count, it makes them do like 3 pumpkins and 4 black cats when they decorate their own scene, or just drawing it. Right? And again, you can always extend off of some of these templates. Believe it or not, this monster body part, this goofy template here, I once used, and I got about just a couple more minutes. I know this will run a little later. I once used as part of a geometry lesson. So what we did is, let me go into my projects, is the kids all did this body sort. And it was 3rd grade, so they just thought it was ridiculously easy because what's going on? And just know that Wixie does not provide instant feedback. A lot of programs and a lot of research suggest if you get instant feedback, the kids stop reading directions and they just click and drag till it sticks or till applause goes off or something like that, fireworks, boom. So the teacher tells the students, guess what? I'm going to let you draw monsters today in Wixie, and you can make those monsters look any way you want. And the kids are like, this is awesome. This is math class. The teacher's lost it. And she says, okay, everybody go to page 2, because although you can make them go any way you want, you have to have these geometric shapes. And this is a self-assessed checklist that the kids are going to move between this page and the next page to make a monster, and they come back and cross things off as they do them. Although this may be a little tricky for kindergarten, this would actually be really helpful for parents, for instance. Now, we created a little line for early finishers here, and I wish, believe it or not, we did this 10 years ago, and it was Pixie at the time. I wish we would have done more math themes. And in fact, the standards have changed for math too. They don't do the geometric shapes like they used to. But at the time, these were the shapes they needed to learn in 3rd grade, and they all went and had 15 minutes to make a monster. Now, usually people go ooh and ah and stuff like that. You guys look pretty lethargic there. So here, let me show you the student sample my daughter did. All right, here it comes. Wait for it. Come on, there it is. There it is. Still no applause. You guys are terrible. So I don't know. My daughter's now actually a junior in college, and she hasn't required any clown monster therapy. But what I love about this is the only one like it in class. You know, if you're the teacher that the kids make Thanksgiving turkeys and they all look identical and you put them in the hallway wall, I walk by and I just say, what a waste of time. I mean, they could have done like patterns of the feathers or something. So they, originality, creative work, they actually had to do something besides being told what to do or having someone do it for them. And that's the wonderful thing. She went and made a monster. And at the time, her 1st grade sister and I made one because I hadn't been in with her class yet. So Daddy worked with her, and she, again, Jamie, you need to have 3 triangles. How many of you seen a triangle sun before? How many of you know it doesn't matter? Color outside the lines. Put fish for fingers on your monster. Make it really clear with these kids what you want from them and how much time they have. And regardless of the method, you'll find that if they need more time, it's because they're playing with the program, not producing. And to that end, I always make them record or type before they draw anything, unless the drawing is the assessment. Because I can grade them on their prediction recording. I can't grade them on their prediction picture. You know what I mean? Because you assume too much. So that's pretty huge there. Now, the only other thing I'll show you is that if you have created something you want to share with your colleagues, the first thing I would encourage you to do is go to your elementary folder, Because see, I've and this is my fictitious school, but I've got like a kindergarten folder. So if you want to organize your own files, when you click on My Projects, see how it's like blued out there? When you click on New, you can add a folder. So click on the school and go New Folder, and one of you should add a kindergarten folder. And then what's wonderful is when you make that template, like again, this was the sorting out, this I think was under month by month. Is Johnny Appleseed a spring event? I don't know. But it's this attribute template that the kids move the apples to. So you're like, okay, I want to use that. That's the one I just made for my team. I modified the template or I created from scratch. If you want to share it, when you click on the three dots, you can say to, oh, this one's being shared by someone else. When you click on the three dots, you click Move To. Now, if you want to move it into one of your own folders, you can. But if you go back to the school and then into kindergarten, and see it's changed from Move To Copy here. A copy of my project just went in the school folder. So if you're that thankful colleague snagging the copy from your peer, you open it up. It was this one here. And basically you open it up and it's the same deal. I can assign it as is or I can customize it because you can't mess up that copy in the school folder. That's just, for you to borrow. Right? So that's how you can share things with your colleagues as well, especially if you're working in a team like you guys are. There will be in Montgomery County Public Schools folder, there probably already is, only people at the central office can place things. So the districts that have been using Wixie for time, like Anne Arundel in Howard County and Baltimore County, you'll see folders from curriculum offices that they are creating supplemental or primary assessment tools from because the kids have devices. So just know that's probably empty and I don't see it populating anytime soon. And with that, let me open up my projects. I'm going to put up my contact information. The only other resource I want to point out is our monster resource page. And that page is using Wixie throughout the curriculum. And it does say, write this down. If you go to a browser and do a search for using Wixie throughout the curriculum, and this is the easiest way to get there, you're going to come to this using Wixie throughout the curriculum page. Now we have resource page on how to use Wixie with music, how to use it with geometry, how to use it with STEM, how to use it with fluency. And we used to have different links that took people different places. And we finally said a couple of years ago, can you just put all of these great resources on one page? And this is it. This is like the holy grail of Wixie ideas here. So if I look at this, I got all these language arts ones, primary, science. Here's grades over here. Let's look just at kindergarten. Every page will start off with a student samples and supplementary material. Like this one has a literature suggestion from our online publication. It's CE, Creative Educator, and there's Spilled Milk I was talking about. And here's a full-blown lesson plan on this one. And these aren't me showing something silly that I might have thrown together. These are actual kids' projects. A letter page, 13 Days of Halloween accounting book. All right, there's your patterns. And then what we've done is we've reposted people who have tweeted saying, basically, I used Wixie with my kindergartners. So what you have is an idea, after. And because this one's a broad one like kindergarten, there's probably 3 dozen ideas here. So probably less than that, I take it back, maybe 2 dozen. It does vary in the number. But what you have, Earth Day posters with kindergarten. So you do have ideas that you can get from these as a way to, okay, how can I use Wixie? And this might be a great place to start. Jeanette is maybe a liaison or someone spearheading this, and I know the media stuff is just unlimited, but this can even be something you share a link to the 3rd grade team and say, sorry, you missed it, but you may want to look at this. But the literature, retelling stories, and I also, Jeanette, I didn't talk about book trailers. The kids can do a video or again multiple pages, but oh boy, you're going to want to read Charlotte's Web. It's a story of an unusual friendship between a pig and a spider. So they persuaded. Or again, I love public service announcements. I love infomercials on the weather or whatnot. And just because Anne's in the house, let's look at music. So there's the notation library. It just hints up. We just got a couple here. So rhythm, it's going to download the pictures. Boom whackers. All right, that's awesome. And I don't think we have a counselor one here. Let's check really quick though. And all about me, back to school ideas. There is the social emotional learning stuff, and there's actually a lot on that. So those are here as well. And you can find templates with social emotional learning all over the place. And that's something we've gone into we've kind of pushed a bit in the last few months, adding that information in there, especially now when there's a bit more of a disconnect. In fact, Ann, I'm going to come back into Wixie, and I'm going to go into templates. And under templates, if you go to teacher, so templates, teacher, there's these idea boards. And on an idea board, there is a social emotional idea board. So these are 20 different ideas for Wixie with social emotional, learning, basically, ideas. And when this shows up, each box is a hyperlink to some resource. So this is a Wixie resource in Wixie, and these are all daily check-ins, all these things you can do. So that was templates, teacher is the first big folder, and then idea boards. And let's see, let's get back here. I think actually we're back to my contact information. Oh, the only other thing I guess I want to show you, and unfortunately I got to log out of Wixie to do it, is your parents are being introduced to their kids potentially using Wixie. Just go to Wixie.com. Wixie.com, and at Wixie.com you're going to have a lot of teacher resources, but there's also this parent resource. There's an overview video. There's ways to be sure that their browser is right for Wixie. It's got to be, basically it can't be Internet Explorer. It needs to be Chrome, Edge, or Safari. If kids are having problems like something won't work, double check right away, what browser are you using? But here's a link that'll confirm it. And then there's student samples and help resources and getting started at home. But if it's me and you're sharing Wixie with parents, all you have to do is say, we're really excited to be using Wixie with your students here as we continue the remote learning process. If you are interested in learning more about Wixie, here's a link, and that's all you got to do, because everything you're going to want is here. Even the privacy policies. So if someone's really concerned about, and the Department of Defense Education Association, the DODEA, they use Wixie with their schools around the world, and we actually were vetted through the Pentagon. So I often think, okay, Montgomery County may be tricky, but if the Pentagon says we're okay, safety-wise and security-wise for their children, then we're in good shape. So just know that link is there. It's just an easy way to kind of cross that off your list and bring parents up to speed. But I'm going to sign back in and put my contact information up and answer any questions. My 5 minutes was up 10 minutes ago. So again, sorry about that.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning, but do the kids need a login to get onto Wixie?
Yeah, and actually they're going to log in through Clever. And it's a single sign-in process. So if they log into Clever, and I believe it's under something like instructional tools, there will be a Wixie icon. And the Wixie icon is a painted hand icon. Let's see if I might have a file with it.
So is I'm sorry, I feel like a stupid person asking this question.
Yeah, you're fine.
Is this
Go ahead.
something that they can get to
through
Canvas? Is Clever part of an app that you can use in Canvas?
Jeanette, I'll leave this one to you. Yeah.
So Clever is the first screen that kids open to when they sign into their Chromebook. So it automatically takes them to Clever, the very first screen. Yep. So you wouldn't see it. It doesn't do that on your computer, but your kids, when they sign in, they see Clever. But they probably don't know much about it or how to use it. But it's basically just a link, a bunch of links on their page. And if I were doing this, I would just put a link to Wixie on my homepage, and then like Scott said, when they go to Wixie, it will pop up for them as their as the first, like your assignment will pop up for them in their box. But Scott, they use their Google login if they're not going through Clever.
Well, I think one of you may have to mute my microphone really quick. I think because Montgomery County's accounts are configured through Clever or Google, but they're configured through Clever, and you just use your Google accounts as your Clever IDs and usernames. I think everyone's going to have to go through that route because that's how your district accounts are configured. If a teacher's account was to be modified, they might have to go through just Wixie.com, the generic front door. But like when I look at your account information, we don't see any passwords at all. We just see usernames because we're piggybacking off of the information you're sharing with Clever. So I think the only option for them would be to go to Wixie via Clever. So
then the link would be to Clever in your. Scott, can
Yeah.
you, if you share your screen, can you show them what the Clever screen looks like and what the Wixie screen looks like, or can I share my screen?
Yeah, let me see if I can share yours because I actually don't. Let me see. I'm going to stop presenting. I don't have Clever. All right, so I'm going to stop presenting, and we're going to make this work.
So we need to put a Wixie link on our student Clever pages.
It's already there.
It's already there. Okay. So can you link Clever in Canvas?
Yeah, just like anything, right? Okay. So here's what the Clever screen looks like. They just click button with Google and it should, yeah, not,
They click login.
we actually start that. So their page is actually much simpler than this. And Wixie is going to be at the bottom, that colorful hand. And they can just put a little heart on it to move it to the top. And then it will be the same thing there. So
Jeanette,
yeah.
could that be one of your lessons that you do with our kindergarten students? Just teach them how to put the heart on the.
Yep, tried to.
And tell us when you're doing it so we can sit in on that lesson.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That was perfect, Jeanette. Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, she kind of hinted too that your kids are brand new to Wixie. Maybe the first time you use it, or maybe there's something you do, Jeanette. But even with the kindergarten kids, if you're the classroom teacher, show them some paint tool and cut them loose for 10 minutes, and say you can draw whatever you want for 10 minutes. That's your time. Then when 10 minutes are up, okay, now it's my time, or 5 minutes, whatever you want. But let them do some exploring. You'd be surprised in how quickly the kids will be able to demonstrate some knowledge with the tools. And again, it's not like they need to know everything. They just need to know a couple tools for each lesson based on what you want them to create. Okay? So my contact information is here. I am happy to help with integration questions, even if you have account questions. If you have a colleague whose account isn't working in your building, it's been set up for various grades as far as all teachers and staff and students to get it with each participating school. So you can reach out to me and we'll direct you where you need to go. If we need to involve someone with Montgomery County or not, I can do that as well. So consider me the point person. And other than that, I'm going to stop the recording and thank you all so much.
Can you share your screen again?